channel. I hope everybody's doing all right. Just a quick little video today about some prison cooking and the ingenuity that the guys used to come up with. I could actually do an extensive video about cooking in prison because there's so much to it. Guys are pretty talented when it comes up to the ideas on how to cook. But first, I'll tell you about my man Mikey the bank robber, man. How Mikey the bank robber used to make breakfast for me. Mikey robbed like 10 banks and real handsome bastard too, Mikey. I'll give you a little quick story about Mikey. He said that he used to walk into the bank and he would pick a female teller. And Mikey was a real good looking guy. And he would walk right up to the teller and start talking to her, even tell her a little joke and get her to start smiling. And just as the girl was laughing at the joke, he'd say, "Now, listen," he says, "do me a favor." He says, "Take all the money and put it in the bag." He says, "That's no joke." And he said that he would catch them off guard. And he was just a funny character, Mikey. Like I said, he robbed about 10 banks. He ended up pleading guilty and got a good deal. I think he got 10 years for the banks. He didn't get convicted of all of them. But Mikey the bank robber was a good cook. And this is what he did. We had metal bed frames that were attached to the wall, and he rolled his mattress back, and he got his hands on some Brillo from the mess hall, and he shaved down about 18 inches of the corner of the bed frame, right? He shaved it down to the stainless steel because the bed frames were usually painted, So he got all the paint off with the Brillo, cleaned it up really good, and it was like the top of a grill. It was flat, it was the bed frame, and it was shiny right down to the metal and clean, you know. And then what he would do, as I said, he'd roll his mattress up and he would have that exposed section. And then he took his hot pot, right? And with the hot pot, he removed the bottom of the hot pot and he took the coil out that's in the bottom of the hot pot. And he took that and he attached it to the top of a Campbell's soup can. You following me? So now he got the coil from the hot pot on the top of a metal Campbell's soup can. And he put that under the bed and raised it by putting it on a bucket with some books. So it was right up against the bottom of the bed, the underneath of the bed. So when he plugged it into the wall, it would heat up that section that he had shaved down. So I'll explain it again just so you could see the picture real good. He shaved down an 18-inch section of the bed down to the metal, and then he took the coil from the hot pot, put it on a metal Campbell's soup can, and put it under the bed up against the bottom. He kept it against the bed by raising it on a bucket and some books until he got it right up to the bottom of the bed, and he plugged it into the wall. And then he created a grill. He heated up that whole section of the bed, and then he would grease it down, and he was cooking pancakes and eggs and flipping pancakes. He had bacon going on there. He calls me one morning, "Yo, Fish, yeah, you going to breakfast?" So I said, "Yeah." He says, "Just come to my cell." He goes, "Forget about the mess hall." He said, "Just come to my cell. I got breakfast for you." So when the doors opened for breakfast, I went to his cell and he had the whole grill going. Yeah, like he had IHOP inside of his cell. It was amazing. It looked so nice. It was just the prison mind was good. Another example of some real ingenuity is when I was in solitary confinement. And there was a guy a couple of cells away from me. All of a sudden, it smelled like apple pie in solitary confinement. You're like, what? So you're not allowed any personal food in solitary confinement. You only get the breakfast, lunch, and dinner that they give you. And so what he did was he was saving some food up and gathering food from other people, which you're not allowed to do. And once he had enough, you get 4 slices of bread with every meal. So once he had saved 8, 10, 12 slices of bread, he peeled all the crust off of the bread. He added a little water to it, and now he had a big thing of dough. Right? And then he rolled that dough out flat. He rolled the bread out so it was like a dough. He even seasoned it with a little salt or whatever he does. You could get your hands on little things. And then he took the apples that they gave because there's like a day of the week they give out apples. He got his hands on some apples and he smashed up the apple and he put the apple inside of the dough and he made little apple pies, like that big. Right. But now he had to cook them. Now he had to cook the apple pie. And so what he did was he needed fire. No fire in solitary confinement, but he got his hands on a pencil and he took the lead out of the pencil and there's an outlet in the wall and he put one piece of lead in the positive side of the outlet, another piece of lead in the negative side, and he left them there. So you got 2 pieces of lead sticking out of the outlet right next to each other. Then he took the third piece and he tied it to a tissue paper. And once it's called the third rail, once all 3 of them touch, it zaps and sets the tissue paper that it's tied to on fire. Follow me? takes the lead, puts it in the outlet, a piece in each side, takes the third piece, touches them together, and it just lights the tissue paper on fire. He had all the love letters from his girlfriend that he twisted the paper really tight, and stuck it in the center of a roll of tissue paper. And he put that under the bed, almost like Mikey did. He had the corner of his bed that he used. And once he put that slow burning love letters, because he tied them so tight, he just squeezed them tight, rolled them, and put it under the bed and lit it on fire. It started heating up the bed, and he cooked his apple pies. Right? He had the whole place smelling like apple pie. And then he sends me one, and he's 2 cells away. And there's not bars, there's doors. But on the bottom of the door, there's a little gap. It's just about an inch and a half. It's like that wide. And he had ripped bed sheet. And he made a line. He made a rope, what's called a line, out of ripped bed sheet. And he ties something to the end of it. And he just gets it out from under the door and swings it. He keeps trying to swing it until he gets it over. All he's got to do is get it to the neighbor next to me, because then the neighbor next to me is going to grab it and send it to me. And then he got me the line. And then once it got in front of my door, I had my own little line where I try and fish it. This is what's called fishing. I keep throwing my line out until it grabs his line. You're laying on the floor because you only got 1 inch to work with. So you're laying on your belly, looking under that 1 inch and trying to get his line. And then when I get his line, I bring it in. He had the apple pie tied to it in a bread bag. And I pulled it in. I fished it in. When I brought the apple pie, I enjoyed my apple pie in solitary. So guys really came up with unique ways to cook and to move things around. Making lines is a big part of prison, what they call fishing. I think I had told in one of my stories that I fished something from a guy who was 5 companies away from me and 50 cells over. And what he did is, in those cases, you use dental floss, because you're allowed to buy dental floss in the commissary, and you got 500-600 yards of dental floss, and it's strong. And you tie a nail clipper to the end of the dental floss. So once he ties the nail clipper to the end of the dental floss, he's got to get it 50 cells over first, because he's in 60 cell and I'm in like 5 cell, 6 cell. I'm 50, 55 cells away from him, but I'm also 5 companies down. So the first thing is to get it over. So what he does a twirl and boom, he shoots it. He may get it 7, 8, 9, 10 cells away. And he tells the guy, yo, grab that line and send it down. Get it down to 5 cell. And everyone keeps grabbing the line, and everyone works together and keeps getting the line until it gets to 5 cell. They keep throwing it down. Once it gets to 5 cell, they tell 5 cell, yo, throw it off of the company so it drops down. And once he throws the nail clipper through the gate, it falls and it lands in front of my cell. 50 cells away, 5 companies down, and I could tie whatever I want to tie to that. And then he can pull it back, And so the guys move stuff around if an officer sees a line, so he tries to stop it. There's officers that try and catch the line. They'll come running out and try and step on the line or cut the line, because guys, move stuff around, especially if there's a lockdown. If the prison is locked down and guys need to get stuff to one another, and making lines is really necessary. Guys make lines and then fill up their net bags, their laundry bags. Let's say a guy is in his cell and he's cooking all day and he makes food for 4 or 5 people. He puts those bowls of food, big bowls of food, Tupperware bowls of food, inside of a net bag, and then ties a line to it and then sends the line down, and people, that's how he delivers food. Guys are pulling the line through the prison. So you see things moving around. You'll be in your cell just sitting there, and all of a sudden you see a bowl of food just getting pulled past your cell. You know what I mean? You don't mess with anybody's lines. You mess with someone's line, you'll get stabbed up in the morning. Things are moving around the prison, and that's how they do it. There were so many ways to make fire. Right. So one way to make fire was the outlet, like I explained, by taking the pencil, the lead from the pencil, which is usually graphite now, but it's still a conductor. When you put it in the outlet and then touch all 3 together, that's called making the third rail. The other way was just using a battery. Everyone had batteries. They sold batteries in the commissary, and for your radio, for your Walkman back in those days, they had batteries, and you would get a little Brillo from the mess hall and just take a few strands of the Brillo, and you put some on the positive side of the battery, some on the negative side of the battery, and then just touch them together. And when you touch them together, It lights up. You put your cigarette right to it. You don't get many. It kills the battery quick. It drains the battery. You might only be able to do it 2, 3 times, but it works like that. And so that's what they do. They put Brillo on each side of the battery, and then pinch the Brillo together and put the cigarette to it, and it lights it. A lot of times, guys would save a dead lighter, a lighter that doesn't work anymore. But when you go like that, it'll still spark, right? And they would take the cotton from inside of a vitamin bottle. When you would buy vitamins, they sold vitamins in commissary, and those vitamins have the cotton. And so they would stretch out the cotton a little bit and then put that lighter in there and just keep flicking it until the cotton would light, and then they would have fire. So there were all different ways. When guys would go on the draft, when they would go on the transfer from one prisoner to another, from one prison to another, a lot of times there was no smoking in the facilities that they were going to be in. You go into a reception prison, or you go into a holdover prison, and guys want to smoke. Guys are addicted to their smoking. And so what they would do is they would take a bunch of tobacco, and they would put it inside of a rubber glove, which they would get from the infirmary, get from the medical department, get the plastic gloves, whatever they would do. And they would put their tobacco in there, and they would take matches and put matches in there, and take a piece of the striker to strike the match on, and they would make little balls. You know what I mean? They would make little balls like that, and they'd stuff them right up their ass. You know what I mean? And this way, when they got to the facility that they were going to, they would pull it out and wash it off, and then break it open. It was in 4 or 5 things of plastic gloves, and they would have all their tobacco, they would have their matches, and they would have their striker and their rolling papers they would pack in there. And these guys were going to smoke one way or the other and make fire one way or the other. So there was always, as they say, when there's a will, there's a way. I know that sounds a little crazy, but the cooking is big in prison. Guys make some very unique meals in there. They make some really good meals. As I said, the commissary list is crazy. They sell everything in the commissary. Guys don't. Many people out in the world don't realize what they have in the commissary. They have pasta, and they have rice, and they have sauce, and they have fish, and cans of tuna fish, and cans of chicken, and fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, cans of beans, cans of calamari, cans of Jack Mac. All different types of pasta, different types of rice. There's plenty of stuff to cook. You know what I mean? If you have personal money, and you can go to the commissary and get these foods, and guys take pleasure in cooking. It's a relaxation to be able to get, and then you could also have food from the outside food packages, and guys would make some great meals. But so I know this was a short video. That was just a couple of ways that guys found ways to cook in some difficult situations, and found ways to make fire, and found ways to move things around the prison. And I'm gonna make another video probably tomorrow or the day after. I'm a little under the weather. I got sick again. Everybody's getting sick. Everyone, all my friends have a cold. So I'm just recovering again. And that's it. I refuse to get sick again after this. But I'll be back. So thanks for watching, and I hope you learned a little something. Bye.